Good day, class, and welcome to Digital Media Convergence. Today we will be looking at Lesson 28, Your Digital Footprint in a Digitally Convergent World. A quick recap of the last lesson. In the last lesson, we discussed your summative assessment, so your final assignment for us for the subject for the semester this year. Okay, we had a quick look at the brief, obviously gave you some tips and tricks on how to go about certain things, and just clarified a few things for you. All right, and then we looked at areas where identified areas where you may need to improve. This is obviously done with your individual lecturer. If there are any last-minute questions on your summative assessment, we will be taking questions at the end of the lecture, obviously. If you're listening to the recording, then please be sure to email your lecturers, or if you have them on WhatsApp, please WhatsApp them, depending on how it is that you communicate with your lecturer. All right, let's move straight into Lesson 28 objectives. So we're going to share examples of your digital footprint, discuss the security issue of social media with regards to your digital footprint, and then take key learnings from the sources shared and apply to your current understanding of digital footprints. All right, so over here we have a short YouTube video. Obviously, again, if you're watching the recording, please do click on the link. It is 8 minutes and 1 second. So this video explains the concept of digital footprints, discusses the implications thereof, and supplies great examples. Okay, so please be sure to watch this. If you're in class, you will obviously then watch it with us. All right, let's move on to our first topic. What is your digital footprint? This is an article written by Maggie Holland, and here she says, the digital footprint we leave behind is how targeted advertising is able to deduce our likes and dislikes, our friends, our enemies, and what restaurants we want to visit before we even know ourselves. All right, maybe the restaurants we want to visit before we even know ourselves is a little bit of exaggeration, but I'm sure you've all been in that situation where in a passing conversation or anything like that, you've mentioned a brand or a shoe or an item, and all of a sudden you are bombarded with advertising for that. Okay, so this is obviously leans into the issue of your phone is listening to you. Unfortunately, your phone usually is. All right, that has been debunked years ago, and we now know that it does happen. Also, it's dependent on our searches and our linked devices. Okay. So these remind us of the deep trail of breadcrumbs we leave behind after every browsing session. Okay, so obviously again referring to your digital footprint, we do leave a breadcrumb of where we've been whilst we browse. All right, 1.1, the definition of a digital footprint. So let's take social media platforms as an example. This is a cute little example. So when we create a LinkedIn account, we create a profile and fill out multiple fields of information about ourselves and what we're interested in. LinkedIn is obviously a professional platform, so it is orientated more around businesses, careers, and professional networking. Okay. So here people can view and determine your professional interests, ambitions, and what fields you're interested in. When we look at Facebook and Twitter, here you've created a less professionally detailed profile, but we are still able to view much of your personal information, such as your likes or dislikes, your favorite restaurants, and what meme category you are into. All right, just a silly example there, but basically here we can kind of see more your personality, whereas in LinkedIn it's more your professional personality. So these are just a few things that we are able to see based on these social media platforms. All right, so obviously what we've discussed thus far doesn't seem that alarming because to an extent you've willingly given that information. So it won't be a surprise when people know that. But what is of concern is the hidden data points that we aren't aware are being recorded. So for example, each click on a website is registered as a data point, which is combined with other pieces of data, including how often we visited a certain page and when. These can be on-site indicators or wider tracking of user activity. This is often the reason why you see relevant ads on certain sites, even though you haven't made an active search for the advertised items. So even though it sounds a little bit off-putting, it isn't all bad. I'm sure majority of us would much prefer having targeted advertising, seeing things that we're actually interested in, then being shown, for example, a tractor, something maybe none of us have a desire of ever owning. All right, so it isn't all bad. All right, so moving on to 1.3, active digital footprint. So this is the publicly traceable information that you share online, including Facebook updates, messages, board posts, and Twitter rants. Obviously, not all of you are really going on Twitter rants, but anything that you post on social media actively, when you click that post, little tab. All right. Although many of us won't think much of it, but this can sometimes present as problematic in future, specifically looking at applying for a new job. I'm sure your lecturer or anyone else has told you that you need to be careful what it is that you're posting because your employers could see it. I'm sorry to tell you, but unfortunately, it is not a scary story. It is actually the reality of it. In fact, it is such a great reality that in 2018, the SA government placed it into their HR procedure when looking at new employees or interns that their social media is to be vetted and checked. All right, it is actually in their procedure and that was implemented in 2018. So if ever you're looking to apply for a job with the SA government, please note they do check this. All right. Then also the issue of simply just having an old post come up to haunt you and threaten your current employment. Be very careful what it is that you post or share, anything like that. It may come out as being, a little bit of a thorn in your side in future. All right. So always be careful and wary of things like that. All right. And then 1.5 is social media security issue. It has become increasingly normalized to share even the most personal information online. So this can go from your relationships or anything like that to where you are. So there's nothing inherently wrong about posting a video of you playing with your dog on Instagram. However, if the pup's name is mentioned and you also happen to be one of the 15% of Brits who use their pet's name as a password, this might put your personal data at risk. All right. I know it sounds so sinister when it's something so innocent, but unfortunately, this is also the reality of it. People are able to gain information about you, maybe used to hack you, or maybe worse, to stalk you, as discussed. Threat actors also partake in burglary, fraud, and identity theft using information gleaned through social media. All right, burglary, for example, might be a silly example, but this is actually quite an interesting thing. If you've ever watched the Kardashians, they have camera crews in their homes following them around, so you're able to kind of see the layout of their home, where certain things are, anything like that. And then we also know what area they live in. It's Calabasas. And in the show, they show the outside of their house, and then it will say at the bottom whoever's house it is. Fun fact, that's not their house. The inside of the house is theirs, yes, but for security reasons, they don't put the real outside exterior of their home. Because then not only do you know which area they live in, you then are aware of how the outside of their house looks and the layout of the inside too. So that is quite interesting. And that's one of the reasons why social media, anything like that, can actually put you in a tricky situation. Also posting maybe things that you've purchased, and then putting a location, anything like that. Okay. And then plenty of social media platforms offer the option to tag yourself at a given location. So as I just said, maybe at the mall or at a festival, and you tag the location. However, this can also assist in stalking. And unfortunately, again, sounds very sinister, but it is also a real scenario and a real concern, something that you should be careful of. If there are people that are insistent on posting that, it's usually advised that you then only post once you have left that location. All right. So if maybe there is someone, by the time they are there, you are no longer there. All right. Just a few tips and tricks for you guys there. Then moving on to our second topic, my digital footprint. So this source demonstrates what others can easily discover about you via a few quick internet searches and suggests some simple ways to obstruct anyone attempting to target you or attack your online accounts. So let's take a look. So what should I do? Firstly, you need to own your content and your digital footprint. You need to know what others can see. Secondly is to shape it. Be proactive about your digital footprint, review your passwords and privacy settings, and review what data is available to you. Think before you share. And then thirdly is monitor it. Keep up to date with privacy and policy changes on social media or anywhere where you have a profile, your personal information is linked. Very, very important. Then 2.2 is a website checklist. Websites that can help you understand and monitor your digital footprint. All right, so here's a short little list of website checklists. So firstly, when we look at google.com, what can you search for? So you can search general search against specific criteria. You can include general information, example like LinkedIn. Here you can look for a first name and a surname, initial and a surname, your Gmail address, things like that, and see if you're able to find anything on yourself. Here you can do the same thing with google.com images. You can search yourself, see other images of you. Also, something that's quite interesting now is Google Lens, where you can search an image and you can see where that image is being used or anything like that. Like you could take a photo of a pair of shoes, put it in Google Lens, it'll show you where you can buy it or other photos where that shoe might appear. All right. And then obviously google.com groups, you can do the same thing. Then you get blog search, and then you get people.com. So if I pronounce it incorrectly, this is search specifically for personal information. Refined searches using geographic location or leave blank to see how many people in the world share your name. All right, very interesting. There you can also see maybe someone's been opening accounts under your name and you want to see where they are, like where these different profiles or accounts are, that kind of thing. Okay, and then continuing on with that, here's a few more websites. Here's what you can search for on them. Here's some of the search criteria. All right, I would advise that you guys go ahead and check some of these out, especially if you are concerned. It is just a good place to start. All right, and then 2.3 is staying safe online. So here's a few websites that you can look at to assist you in online safety. A few of these are dominantly in the UK, but that doesn't matter because they are just discussing general policies. So for example, specifically at the social networking one, again, .org.uk, but they are discussing privacy advice on social networks, which we all share. So it's not only in the UK, it's anything that you're able to use in the UK and you're also using here. All right. So again, I'd highly encourage you guys to go through these if you have any issues. And then finally, if you guys have any last questions, now is the time to please ask them in class or to contact your lecturer. And then here are the references that we have used for this lesson today. Alright, guys, best of luck, and I hope to see you all soon. Enjoy.